Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zenker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. How important is your clarity, your focus, and your well-being? For me, it's everything. And I had been feeling so anxious that it was starting to affect my sleep, and it was affecting my performance and my relationships. And I decided that I had to do something about it. Anxiety doesn't just come from our thinking. It lives in our body. When our body is in a state of activation, our focus drops, our clarity fades, and everything feels harder than it needs to. Can you relate? I'll bet you can. Well, that's exactly why I started using Apollo Neuro. What I notice right away is the moment that the vibration starts, and I feel it in my body, it reconnects me with my body. I slow down. I take a deep breath, and I get intentional. It's made a huge difference in how I feel each and every day. And I love the fact that it is programmed. It's not something that I have to turn on when I want it. It's programmed for different vibration frequencies that help me to achieve the state that I want. And that's the fastest way for us to shift our state is through our body. I wanted you to experience it for yourself. Through my affiliate link, ownyourfocus.me, you'll get a special discount on the total price. Once again, that's ownyourfocus.me. Hello and welcome. Today, I want to share some experiences that I've been having with coding with Claude. And I want to title it kind of AI user beware, because we think, and I've had these moments where, wow, AI can do everything. It can build, it can write, it can organize, it can summarize, it can code, it can troubleshoot, it can brainstorm in ways that sometimes feel magical. Like, oh my God, how did it do that? Or it knows me so well, or that's the best advice. But it's not a magician. And that's what we have to be careful of, is we set the expectations so high, and that might leave us to not double check what it's doing, or not to check on the assumptions that Claude or ChatGPT or any LLM is making. AI is powerful, but it's also imperfect. I've been pulling my hair out at times because it's not living up to my expectations. I find it skipping things, making assumptions, even when I said don't make assumptions, or when I tell it to go back and check itself. It's very much like a teammate. And that's kind of a reset for me as I'm thinking about it. You have to treat the LLM like a teammate, a capable teammate, a really smart one, a fast one, and one that can definitely save you hours, but still a teammate that needs to be checked, that needs to be given concise instructions. And what I found, and I learned the hard way, is that each chat itself, like each time you open the chat to a new session, you have to treat it like a new person. Don't assume that it knows everything that you've been doing to this point, because I found that it missed a number of things, and it didn't have the full context for whatever reason. I said, go back and read the project documents. And it says, oh, now I have the full information. And I don't know how many times it said that. Oh, now I have the full information. Thank you. Now I have the full information. Well, what happened 4 times ago? So don't get caught up in that trap. Make sure you give it enough context, remind it to go through the documents before it begins, so that it has the basis of what it needs, and still check its assumptions. And what I found is the longer the chat has been open and the more it's doing, it's kind of like a person. It gets tired. It loses its thread. You might have seen that in the very early days, is the first initial things that ChatGPT would say to me were brilliant. And then as time went on in that same chat, it got worse and even crazy at times. And so I'm noticing that as well. Even though we have more advanced models, they're still having challenges with the chats becoming too long. One of the things that I've learned to do is that before I end a chat and start a new one, that I ask it to document everything that's needed for the next chat. What do I need to update in the project documentation? And that's helped. Not fully, but it's definitely helped. Because as I said, sometimes it didn't read the documentation. And just like a human, each of these LLMs is making assumptions. So make sure that you tell it to ask any questions it might have before it starts, or to validate what are the assumptions that you're working with, so that you know that they're working with the right assumptions. And there's been a couple of times where it's made some suggestions where, because I'm really reading what it's writing to me and how it's thinking, and I challenge its thinking at times. It says, "You're right. That's more complicated than it needs to be. We can do this." And so that's been helpful to check it along the way, especially because if you're not careful, you can end up with like spaghetti code at the end. A little of this, a little of that, right? Different approaches from different versions of the chat that you're using layered on top of each other kind of creates a little bit of a mishmash that is harder for each chat to follow or any person to follow. I used to have this actually when I had my own application development company, and we were developing applications, and different people sometimes would be working on them. We'd have to hand it over to someone else, and one person documents in a different way or doesn't document. And the next person would look at the code and be like, "Oh, this is terrible." It's not that it's terrible, it's just not done in the way that they understood and the way that they would do it. So they either scrap the whole thing or they end up building in pieces or workarounds. And after a while, when different people are working on these things, it does become a little bit more complicated with each person that works on it. And I'm finding that with each of the new chats that I have to start as well. So here's what I want you to do when you're working on a project with any LLM. These 3 simple practices have helped me. First of all, check the work carefully. Don't assume that the answer is right because it sounds confident or it's so long that it's hard to go through. Ask it to explain its reasoning. Ask it to identify risks. Ask it what it may have missed. Ask it to compare the work against the original goal. Get another chat to audit it and see what it says, and go through and make sure that you understand that it understands your ultimate goal and that it continues to understand your ultimate goal. And number 2, as I mentioned, is update that project document as you go so that you have the latest document. So for any reason you do have to start a new chat, you have everything that you need. And you can basically just keep a README file and some architecture notes and key decisions that have been documented. You can capture what's changed from version to version and make sure that you are using version control. That means the scope of version 1 is this. And when you've completed it and you've tested it, you can lock it in and say, that's version 1. Now I'm going to build additional complexity. And maybe right now I'm building a Keynote companion. And that Keynote companion has lots of different aspects to it of coaching. You can learn different skills and you have a habit tracker. Now that all that is working, I'm building in access levels. So I have a free user, I have somebody who can come in at the academy level, and then I have my mastery circle. And so I've locked in the previous version, so I can always go back to it. If all hell breaks loose, I can always say, let's go back to version 8. So if working on version 9, version 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, these things are important because they give you quick and easy points to refer back to in case things just get all messed up. And they do sometimes, right? Because things work until they don't. You hear me say that a lot. So that's why you want to be able to reset at any particular time to a fixed point where you were in the recent past. So that's what it is to have a reset mindset when you're dealing with AI and your AI projects, is to constantly be checking in and making sure that it still understands your goals, that you are working under the same assumptions, because it is a powerful tool. But the reset in itself is the most powerful tool of all to keep you from moving forward too fast, that you're not making sure that you're going down the wrong path or that you're missing things that will hijack your project. So build the habit of checking, of documenting, and auditing along the way. This is going to really help you to keep the momentum going without getting lost in the chaos or the complexity. I'd love to hear what is going on as you're using these different LLM models. Claude is currently my favorite, but I have been going back to ChatGPT quite a bit. When Claude runs out, I go to ChatGPT, but I found that it is just better at some things in the way that it words things or provides a fresh perspective. Like I needed to walk through how to use this Netlify platform. I was missing something, and ChatGPT did a better job describing step by step what I needed to do, whereas Claude was a little fuzzy in its description and I wasn't able to figure out what it is that I needed to do. So sometimes having multiple tools is also helpful, just like it's helpful to have multiple people with multiple different skill sets on your team. So remember that. And so keep me posted. What are you working on? What's working? What's not working with your projects? What in Claude or with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever tool, Copilot, whatever tool that you're using. Love to hear that and share it with this audience so that they can learn more of the tips and tricks so that they can reset around what's working and what's not working for other people. Because sometimes the best way to learn is not by making our own mistakes, but by learning from what other people have already tested. Why should we have to go through the pain of making all the mistakes ourselves? Let's share our experience so that we can move forward faster. It's time to reset. My name's Penny Zenker. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.